I'm going to move on now. I've talked about going longer, going faster, my 2 different leg aids. I've talked about my 2 different rein aids for slowing and stopping and shortening. I've talked about my 2 turns, the direct to shift the feet in, the indirect to shift the feet out. And I've talked about 1 leg back for yielding the hindquarters, none of which means Portuguese walk. Now to add all of those together, we can start to get funky moves like a half pass. So half pass, I've got a little bit of direct turn there to the inside, a little bit of indirect turn on the outside if I need to, or more indirect turn on the inside to get a little bit more bend, and then my outside leg back, but no longer pushing in order to get him to stay sideways. Dressage should look beautiful. It should look easy for the horse without the use of restricting gadgets like side reins, draw reins, tight nose bands, and constant spurring and holding of the horse in front. The horse should look, in the end, like it's dancing. He wants to do this quicker. Good boy. Relax. Good boy. That's it. The same with the walk pirouettes. It's just a smaller version of the half pass. So I'm using my turn aids and my yield aids. Dressage horses should end up so light that you can ride them one-handed. And I do a lot of one-handed practice with him, so Portuguese style maybe with the whip up here. And again, I should be able to maneuver him from these rein aids, keeping his shoulders light. Good boy. And have him keep going. Now, the only way I can do that is to have rein aids that really work to lift the shoulders, lift the withers, and get the shoulders of the horse where I want. So I can sit here, reins in one hand, whip in the other, and start to ride through some exercises. Good boy. The use of the whistle there is just my signal to say, quit now, you've done enough. So you'll often hear me giving a little whistle there in the piaffe to tell him he's done fine. Good boy. If my friend Celine's watching, she'll be going, don't let him walk so fast, Hartstone. But I'm just not going to get on his case today because it's a big environment. He's only a baby horse. So things like the, what is that move going to be? No, that wasn't the one I wanted. Oh, okay, we could though. Let's do it properly if we're going to do it. Good, and the same with the piaffe. I want that he piaffes on his own, not from a constant pressure. Good boy. And if it gets a bit slow, I can say, oi, 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 come on. Quick, quick, quick. Even a little tap if I need to. Good boy. So I might try a few little tempi changes with the horse. He's like, I was hoping you'd say that. Bring it on. It's been a hard transition for me to go from riding warm blood horses onto a horse like this. I'm really enjoying it. It's much more fun. But I've got to be a bit more subtle. And for those that know me, subtlety is not my strong suit. Good boy. Good boy. Oh, no, not those ones. We're just doing single ones. Good boy. That's, no, not those ones. You're awesome. We tried for ages to get those. I'm actually just trying to do a little single change, but he's really willing to work this horse, and each new trick he learns, he's like, yeah, I want to do that one. Good boy. We were just going to do like a line of fours. 1, 2, no, okay. We're not going to do a line of fours. Do a 1, no, okay. That's all right. Let's try a line of 1s. So maybe I'll just do a line of 1s and see how we get on. I think that's what he wants to do. Training for your horse should be fun. I don't want to dominate him. I just want to be his mate and look pretty flash at the end of the day. Let's see. Left rein, centre line. Good boy. So that's the 15 he's going to need for the Grand Prix. I started teaching him, he didn't know them at all. Good man, he's a clever boy. I started teaching him on the centre line off the left rein, and that's about as far as we've got. So I've got to teach him on the diagonal now. But I want to keep it as a bit of a trick for him so that he thinks he's really clever when he's done it, which we all know that he is. I use a little bit of clicker training as well, and he's going to throw all his tricks at you guys. You've got to save some for Cinderella. So with the clicker training, a clicker is what we call a secondary positive reinforcer. It's a marker of correct behaviour that I can use. When I first got him, I had quite a bit of trouble getting a left canter strike off, actually. So I taught him on the lunge, and then I transferred it to a signal on board and used the click and a food reward. And within one session, he never had trouble with that strike off again. I used the clicker to train the PF as well, so it's easier for me to use the clicker when I've got someone on the ground beside me that can click and treat him. He's got quite big lips, and when I reach around to give him the food rewards, he's, gets half my hand. So we could PF. This ground's a little tricky here, hang on. And when we feel a really good step and he's trying extra hard, we do the click on the clicker, and he instantly gets a food reward, or a few seconds later gets a food reward, and that can really increase your horse's motivation to go. I see a lot of horses being trained to PF with someone standing on the ground with a whip. Sometimes that person on the ground with the whip is tickling the horse. Other times I've literally seen horses being thrashed, including, no, I'm not going to say it, but yeah, at lessons where, really, if we're trying to make dressage a good sport here in New Zealand, at sort of national trainings, squad trainings, you shouldn't have people having to thrash horses with sticks in order to get them to PF. The horse needs to look like it wants to do it for himself, and not only does he need to look like that, good boy, he needs to do that for himself. We've got to produce horses that are happy in their work, not looking like they're forced into that work, and they've got to be all-round happy horses. This guy goes down the beach, he does a bit of working equitation, he can chase cows, he's been out with hounds. He's probably one of the most valuable and expensive horses I've ever owned in terms of what he's worth now, but at the same time he's a horse. So he's not just trapped in the dressage arena. He gets out and about, he learns different experiences. He's been in the last year, been on the ferry, and he's been in street parades in the Hastings Main Street, and he's done all sorts of parades and gone into tents and doing all sorts of things like that. He just doesn't do big screens quite yet. And that'll all help in his education as he grows up. He's a late maturing horse. He won't really hit his straps until he's probably a 14-year-old. Boy, no, we're not going to do that one. Good boy. But I just try and keep my training really simple for the horse and really, really fun. One thing we do try and do is we really shape a behaviour in. So I want to piece things together bit by bit by bit. Now I do this in my dressage training for things like leg yield, but I also, and piaffe passage, anything like that. But I also do it for some of the tricks Alibaba can do. He's learning to bow, he can fetch, and he can also smile, but not while I'm on his back. I can only do smile when I'm standing in front of him. But when I was teaching him to fetch, for instance, the first thing I needed to teach him to do is purely just to touch the object I wanted him to pick up. Once he could touch it, I then rewarded, and I was using a clicker at the time, I could reward when he used his lips on it, then when he picked it up, and in the end, when he took a step towards me, and in the end I can throw something away, he'll go and fetch it and bring it to me. Now without the use of shaping, I couldn't do that. So shaping says rewarding the smallest amount of the behaviour, just a small glimpse of the behaviour, and saying, yep, that's a good boy. So when he was learning the piaffe, he just does a couple little steps, good boy, good boy, good boy. He's not asked to do 15 steps in a row like you need to in the test, just a glimmer of it, and it doesn't matter if he's not on the bit or he's not straight or one leg's not as high as the other. You just keep rewarding the behaviours until you get more and more and more of what you want. So it shouldn't be about force, it should be about getting these glimpses, good boy, of what you need, boy. Good man. And rewarding those. So that's shaping. All good animal trainers use shaping. You ask any dolphin trainer or dog trainer and lion trainer, they all do shaping. But horse trainers tend not to, well, particularly in the dressage and jumping kind of world, not so much in the Western world, I find, but that we just really make the horse do things rather than systematically, step by step, in tiny steps, reward the behaviours till we get to the final picture. I see a lot of people when they train leg yield or half pass, the thing that they're most worried about is the horse round enough? And then is it forward enough? When really it should be, is it moving sideways off my leg? Like, that is your number one question to start with, not is it on the bit. So it's about not worrying where the head position is to start with, not worrying if the horse is quite straight enough or quite forward enough, just rewarding aspects of that behaviour, good boy, and building on it piece by piece by piece. That way is the most fairest way to the horse. So those are a few of the training principles there. I might just do a little bit of passage with this guy. He's a little bit tired. He's had that stressful night. I spent my evening worried about him as much as he was worried about his mates. Good boy. So bit, by learning to shorten up his trot, and if I overdo my leg and I ride it like it's a warm blood, I get some up and down stuff on the spot. Good boy. You're a good baby. Good boy. No. So just come. Just come. Well, this better be our dress rehearsal for tomorrow night. Good boy. I know. That's not what I want. That's not what I want, but it's pretty cool. Good boy. Come now. Good boy. So I've got to learn to be a lot more subtle. Good boy. Let him find his balance here in the passage. Good boy. Keep the rhythm a little bit with my seat, which is the mistake I made then. And all his mistakes are really my mistakes. It's never, ever the horse's fault. He really is a blameless participant in the whole training thing. All he does is show you guys what I can't do. Good boy. Good boy. Good. And I should be able to sit in passage, keeping him just a little on my knees, give the rein, and have him stay there. Good boy. Again, my leg there was doing nothing. There was no driving of the leg. The horse just goes for himself. And that's what I want to produce, horses that are naturally forward, light off the leg, light through the shoulders. A horse that you can take into a working equitation round, or for him, if he was a bit shorter, into the bullfight ring. Have them easy to maneuver, really light off the legs, and have a horse that enjoys his work. So that's the big plan. But thank you very much for coming along, and I hope you learned something. And come and watch us in Cinderella tomorrow night. Good boy. Good boy. Have a chat.